Welcome to Sip Sip Hooray. I'm Mary Orland.
And I'm Mary Babbitt. We're so glad you joined us today on Sip Sip Hooray because we are going to continue our coronavirus conversations. We're finding out how wineries are coping with the pandemic, the creative ways they're reaching out to their wine club members and customers. And also today we're going to look at specifically what reopening might look like for them. And bearing in mind that in California, each county has its own set of regulations about how businesses can reopen and when they can do so. So the challenges are real for wineries, and this has been, the impact of the coronavirus on the wine world has been enormous. So we want to talk to our guests today about that and the ways they're trying to figure it all out.
So today we'd love to welcome our guest. Joining us is Maggie Curry. She is with Kendall Jackson and the Jackson Family Wines in Sonoma County. We have Dan Lockteff from Wright Station Vineyards and Winery in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and Stephen Miraso of Stephen Kent Winery in the Livermore Valley. Welcome to all.
We're really glad you guys are here. And we're doing this podcast via Zoom. I know you guys have probably spent a lot of time on Zoom over the last few months. So bear with us. If the audio isn't perfect, it's because this is a Zoom recording, but it is a great way to be able to connect with people. And I'm sure you've all been connecting with customers that way as well. But before we get into that, how about you tell me the last 3 months, what has it been like and what has been the impact of COVID-19 on your wineries and livelihood?
And as you do that, if you could also just let our listeners know where your winery is located, and so a little bit of background on each of you and the wineries.
Yeah, Maggie, why don't we start with you?
Hi. Great to be here. So I'm with Kendall Jackson Winery. We're located in Fulton, larger city of Santa Rosa, California, right in Sonoma County. Probably among this panel, we're one of the larger wineries probably in this discussion. So for us, I think everybody went through that immediate kind of shock as we closed down. And as a community, we had to really just absorb what was happening. And for us, almost immediately, it really became a channel story. So figuring out, how are we going to get our wine to people? And it was a story of the channels adjusting. So obviously direct to consumer physically shut down in the tasting rooms, but we saw a rapid growth online with people wanting to ship wine to their houses across the U.S. So there was that. And then we have a large amount of business in restaurants, cruise, airlines. That all came to a halt. And at the same time, you saw this rise in grocery store purchases. So what I would say is here at Jackson Family and with Kendall Jackson, we just tried to put our best entrepreneurial hats on, try to stay positive, try to look at it as glass half full where we could, and sort of get our, turn on a dime really and adjust the way we go to market. From a community perspective, we are a big employer in Sonoma County, so it was keeping our ear to the ground of, how do we rally with the community and work with the Sonoma County vintners and really do our best as a team to, advocate for what we wanted and how we would move forward with COVID. But it's been wild. And I would say if I'm looking at it glass half full, we'll probably go into solutions and how we've adjusted. But though it was a rapid adaptation of, finding new channels and finding new ways to talk to our consumers, I think we'll come out of this stronger in a way. So trying to look at it on the positive side.
Yeah.
Great. And Dan, what about you at Wright Station?
Yeah, so I'm Dan Lockteff. I'm the owner, winemaker at Wright Station Winery. We're much, much, much smaller than Jackson Family Wines. We do about 2,000 cases a year. And so as a small winery, we're impacted huge by this. Most of our sales are coming direct from our tasting room. So without going from that to being the majority of our business to zero of our business, obviously that's a huge, huge impact for us. But things have been surprisingly going well. I've been very busy. Obviously, the vineyards don't stop. The winemaking doesn't stop. I'm pretty much the only one in the cellar, so I'm busy there. And I become now shipping boy as well. So previously, we our online presence was very minor. We didn't do a lot of sales online, and we've been able to really move quite a bit of wine that way. Discounted, discounts on shipping, discounts on the wine itself. But that's been really positive, and I think the cool thing about this, and the only cool thing maybe, is that just the positivity that most of our customers have. I mean, we've been doing shipping, but also we've done a few curbside pickups, and just the people driving through, and they're so excited to hopefully when can we come back, and that's been really kind of uplifting, just to see that we have a customer base that really does, really wants to come in and experience what we do at Wright Station again. So that's been good. So I guess that's kind of the gist of it. I mean, it's definitely, as Maggie said, it's a complete shift in channel. We are also not really in any, I shouldn't say any burden. We're in very few retail as well. So we didn't get a bump up in retail either. Most of our outside sales are restaurants and wine bars. And obviously that's, I'm not seeing a lot of reorders there at the moment. So, I think, as Maggie said, I think we come out of this with some areas where we'll be stronger going forward because of going through this. And so, we got to look on the bright side, and things are happening. Things are happening. So.
Good. What else can you do but look on that bright side, right? Thanks, Tia.
Exactly.
How about you, Stephen Mearsu from Stephen Kent Winery in the Livermore Valley? What's it like for you guys? How has it been out there?
Well, thank you first for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to talking and learning from our fellow wine regions and wineries. This is absolutely a strange time. I kind of liken this to sort of waking up from some natural disaster. When we were sort of forced to close on March 18th, we're open most days of the week, so traffic immediately stops, obviously, and we're a direct-to-consumer collection of brands: Lineage Wine Company, Stephen Kent Winery, Mia Nipote Wines. Most of our business is done relatively locally, and a lot of our business is done direct-to-consumer, face-to-face, every week. Every monthly club release, that sort of thing. So not being able to hug our club members who have become our friends, not being able to go into our favorite local restaurants who are customers, but more importantly, who are friends. We've developed friendships, and sort of we're all on the same side of the barricade, fighting the good fight. So what happens to our restaurant community, it impacts obviously our wine community, and vice versa. What impacts us impacts our friends who are our customers as well. And it's been difficult. It's been a huge dislocation time-wise for me personally. I don't know what day it is all the time. The rhythms, sort of the natural business rhythms that you get used to, are totally gone at this point in time. And no matter how much you try to conduct your Zoom meetings with people that you need to talk with, it's not the same thing as coming to the winery first thing in the morning and that kind of thing. As Dan was saying, the natural rhythms of our business, the vineyard growth continues unabated. Nature has a great way of sort of covering the scars over time, and we've gotten through bloom. We're doing our first shoot thinning now. We're blending in the winery as well. So we're getting wines from the 18 vintage blended. We're getting wines from the 17 and 18 vintage bottled. We're trying to continue to release wines on a regular basis to our club members. And one of the interesting, if there's a silver lining to this whole thing, is we've created deeper connections with people, club members specifically, who are on the East Coast or who are from our area. People we'd only hear from really if there were a problem. Club members. This has given us an opportunity to do a lot of Zoom tastings and a lot of communication that we didn't do before. Shame on us. to connect with people who don't get a chance to be in Livermore frequently. So that part of connecting to a larger audience who are already fans of ours has been a wonderful thing. And just being, I think we've deepened our relationships with the people in our community as well, from the business standpoint. Certainly community, local, and then larger concentric rings as we go out to areas that we sell wine wholesale, in the sense that we're all in this together. The whole world is in this together from a general standpoint, obviously, but from a business standpoint, it's easy to recognize and commiserate with our the industry that we're a larger or a small part of, the hospitality business. So it's been interesting from that perspective to be able to get through this with a group of people that we respect and work with frequently. So it's not all terrible news, just mostly bad news, let's say.
Mostly bad.
Mostly bad.
Say misery loves company.
But I do love that all three of you said there's kind of a silver lining to all of this. And Dan, I want to ask you, and we'll have all of you answer this, but we'll go to Dan first. What have you been doing to stay engaged with your customers, with your wine club? What things are you doing that you weren't doing before?
Well, there's a wine club running in the background right now. I'm charging people as this Zoom call goes, so that's kind of cool. We haven't done any Zooms or anything like that. I've watched a couple of them from some other wineries and things. But what we've done is, I guess, it's the main interaction we've had is doing the curbside pickups. And as I said, that's actually been really fun in a way. We have a few employees. We're enjoying the time that we get to spend together, since we're not together too much anymore. And then I'm enjoying the folks that come up. They don't stay long, obviously, which is normally we have trouble kicking people out of our place, but this is a little bit opposite.
Yeah. Dan, can you tell Stephen and Maggie about Wright Station, about your setup, because it is a special place?
Yeah, so we have we're in Los Gatos up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and so we have a beautiful old house, a farmhouse that's restored now. That's our tasting room, and then outside we have a patio deck. So it's our typical business is usually walk-ins. We hadn't been doing reservations. That's going to change. But we did do reservations, I should say, but that was a minor portion of our business. And people, could bring up their own food and enjoy either, tasting by the glass, by the bottle, doing all those things. And so it's just a really beautiful environment to just sort of to be in. Overlooks the vineyard, pretty spot. So that's kind of taken away, but like I said, the interaction when we do get to see our customers, that's been really fun. And then, same thing, just getting, even with a lot of the online orders, kind of what Stephen was saying a little bit, we'll get an order from somebody from Washington. I mean, that's great. We occasionally would get those, but it would just get processed and no one would really care. Now it's almost like there's an interaction. They'll even email us saying, how, sort of they want to support us and all that. So that's just been fun to interact with customers that way. I'll save this for the future, but for our wine club, normally we would have already done this a few weeks back for our spring wine club release. I kind of pushed it out, hoping to be open and actually do more, kind of almost do a reopening with our wine club a little bit. It looks like we are going to do something like that, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But so that'll be our next experience, probably to sort of see how we will interact with people going forward.
Terrific. And Maggie, tell us about Kendall Jackson, what everyone there has been doing, and any of the other wineries, if it's appropriate.
Yeah. I always go back to in person is the way we should all enjoy food and wine. So obviously that's the best, but I would say the wine industry has gotten a little bit of a bad rap when it comes to not keeping up with technology. I think we're a little slow to adapt. So with COVID, I think there was like this rapid learning curve. And this is where my glass half full comes out is we implemented at-home virtual tastings with our winemaker, Randy Olam. We actually have been leveraging our culinary team, who's been doing, now it's every Wednesday, they do a Zoom cooking class for Wine Club. We also offer it out to our full email list and have been promoting it a little bit on our social channels. But pretty cool to be able to do a 1-hour class and get some cooking tips and see them in their homes. Sometimes they're in their homes, sometimes they're at the winery. So yeah, and then also just with our wine club, we did a virtual Zoom masterclass with our master sommelier, Larry O'Brien. And it's funny, like, I wonder why we didn't do that before. You know, it kind of makes you think, what were we doing? But, you know, Zoom wasn't on the top of everybody's tongue like it is now. And
like, it's a verb now. We're all using.
We're Zooming.
All the time.
Yeah.
You're right. None of us thought of that stuff before.
Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting with these interactive Zooms, you're getting a glimpse of people's kitchens across the U.S. that most of them are wine club members. And so, you know, Tom and Kathy in Wisconsin are, you know, showing us their gnocchi and asking the chef, you know, any cooking tips. And for me, wines has had this interesting moment with COVID, because think about, you know, things are opening up now slowly, baby steps in each state. But during those first couple months, with restaurants closed, you know, we were seeing families and anybody you live with having this gorgeous, you know, opportunity to just sit in their house and have a dinner at their dinner table every evening. And I think wine had a big role in that. You'll see that in the grocery sales lift, you know, when you look at the statistics. But for me, wine had a bit of a moment with America dealing with COVID and connecting with people in their house like they hadn't in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. I actually saw a few of Randy's tastings on your Instagram channel, and I really liked the one where he was doing a blending session with two of the other winemakers. That was kind of fun. And Stephen, you've been very active on social media as well. I've seen a bunch of your Instagram videos. So tell us about that and what else you're doing.
Well, you know, I kind of want to brief comment on one of the things that Maggie said. You know, what's interesting about this sort of use of new technology in our business, and you know, this industry is 8,000 plus years old, so technological change isn't necessarily hugely important to how we get our product made and sold. But we've done you know, kind of virtual wine and food pairings with local restaurants. So we would offer a wine to go along with a meal that our local friends here in Livermore and Pleasanton would sell to the folks who wanted to participate. Then we would do a Zoom tasting, sort of talking about the food and wine pairings, but talking more about the hospitality business and sort of what it means to devote your life to taking care of people, which really is kind of a simple way of talking about what our hospitality mission is. Our vehicle happens to be wine, and in other vehicles are food and the like. But I think overall we're in the business of taking care of people. So that's been a challenge, obviously, when we're doing it virtually. But in other ways, because of these connections with people, at a certain time of day, like with food, doing these Zoom tastings, we have 50 people on our Zoom call, and all are eating the meal and having the wine that we've kind of put together. That's not the kind of intimate experience we normally get to participate in. We do it by virtue of our product if we're lucky, but it's not the same thing as being connected to people while they're eating. You know, it's one of the most intimate acts we have, right? To feed and to give drink to people. So that's been a very interesting kind of a trade-off or discovery that we've been able to find over the course of this period. But we've done those interactive dinners. We've done horizontal tastings of our single vineyard Cabernets. We've done some blind tastings with club members. We've done trivia nights. We've done cooking, and we connected with a chef and a DJ in Southern California. So I was in my kitchen making something, whatever it was, with the other chef, and we were drinking wine. The DJ was playing music. We're connecting with an audience a little bit further away from our base, and you know, that kind of strange sort of discovery of ways to connect with people and times to connect with people and experiences to connect with our folks has been a very gratifying discovery, I think, during this period of time. And it's certainly something we'll be looking to continue to do, even when we can see people face to face.
Absolutely. I saw a Wine Institute report May 27th that said that the nation's $30 billion wine industry stands to lose nearly $6 billion this year, with smaller wineries getting hit the hardest. Sorry to tell you that, Dan, but it's probably not news to you, but that revenues could be down as much as 50% for smaller wineries, and probably a lot of the bigger ones too. So I know that reopening is critical to all of you. And as you look to reopen, as you head into the summer months, which are normally a really big time for visitors and tourism, what are the things that you're trying to figure out? I know that in California right now, I believe the regulations are that if a winery is open, it's only if they're serving food, if you serve food. And I know that not a lot of wineries have a kitchen, so I feel like that leaves a lot of people out of the game. So I'm curious if we could just go around the panel and if you could let us know, what's it starting to look like? What are you hearing? Like, when might you be open? And when you're open, what does that look like? Is it tasting, or is it, or is there some ways that you're looking to reopen? And then as you look to the future, what does that look like? So I know that's kind of a big one, so maybe we can chunk it up. But Maggie, let's start with you, because you guys do have food, right?
Yeah, we were on the lucky side of the first goes because Kendall Jackson does have a commercial kitchen and a food and wine program. Also, quite a larger outdoor patio space and a garden to walk and all that. So we opened on Sunday, May 24th. We weren't really sure how it was going to go, but to our surprise, we've been trying to target about 50 reservations per day where possible, and we've been seeing that book up. And the interesting fact is, from what I'm hearing from our tasting room staff, there is that 50% seem to be new to Kendall Jackson.
Oh,
so there's like a little nugget that's interesting is I think a little bit of the first mover advantage, and a lot of them are coming from the Bay Area actually. So I know I have 2 kids, and so during this I've gone for drives just to like listen to music and go for a drive, and so I can imagine, putting on some good tunes and driving up to wine country isn't too bad if you get there and we have a 4-course food and wine pairing, and also can offer like a robust like cheese and charcuterie board with a flight.
Is it masks on, and is it how many people and how spaced out? What are the rules you've been given?
Yeah, so we are keeping, I think the rule is 6 feet distance, but we have more than 10 feet distance between our tables. Our staff has gloves and masks. We have somebody fully working to sanitize during the shift. And we're keeping the reservations to 4 people per table. It's been an adjustment, but everybody seems to just be cheerful that things seem to be moving forward. The reception from people has just been very positive, I think. And we're excited to open our doors. I mean, the best part of food and wine is experience it face to face, like I said. So for us, it's just been trying to focus on safety first, but also get back to what we're good at, and what we enjoy.
So are you having to space out reservation times? Or how many people can be on your property at one time?
Yeah, so that's all being managed by people that are taking the reservations. It's through kj.com or calling us or Open Table, but they're staggering the cadence of the reservations and again, keeping it under 50 people per day. And
can people, like I've been to KJ several times, you have beautiful gardens there. And one nice thing was you could take some wine and walk around in the gardens. Can people do that now?
Yeah. Okay. So with the mask rules, so at your table, you can take your mask off and then you can walk our property. And as long as you're keeping your social distance, it's really up to their personal preference. But I think people are just excited to get outside and enjoy wine and talk about wine again. And,
sure.
Yeah.
And before this, did you have drop-in visitors? Was that something you did? And you can't do that now, I guess.
Yeah, so we're reservation only at the time, but prior we were open to the public. So,
how about you, Steve? What's it looking like in the Livermore Valley? Are things reopening there, and what are they telling you about what it will look like?
Well, yeah, we unfortunately are not able to open yet. Alameda County is still shut down, and the before this latest communication, I think we're supposed to get some more information tomorrow. May 31st was going to be the last day of shelter in place, but then the health department in Alameda County said, our cases are on the rise, unfortunately, in Alameda County. So indefinitely closed. We don't know what that means. We're anticipating, indefinitely is a very ugly word.
Yes.
So we are anticipating being able to open hopefully sometime in June. If not, then we'll open when we open. Part of what we're intent upon doing, though, is when we are open, that we are able to recreate as closely as possible with all of the safety protocol in place, that family atmosphere that we've been trying to create for the last 24 years at our place. And it's difficult when you're masked. It's difficult when you're 6 feet apart from people, but it's important for us, for our team whose careers are hospitality related careers. We've been rehearsing for the last 90 days. We're anxious to get back out there and start doing what we do well, kind of what Maggie was saying. So we're very excited. At the same time, my top priority as a CEO and owner of the company is to make sure that our people are safe. We have a lot of part-time wine pourers on our team. It tends to be a retired older audience. So we want to make sure that our people are safe first before we contemplate opening. And then we want to make sure we create the right environment, social distancing, sanitation protocols, figuring out actually how we're going to get wine into people's glasses, with social distancing and the like. So there are, you wouldn't think of it, but there are certain, and I'm curious to talk to Maggie at some point about how they're doing it, but it isn't intuitive necessarily to figure out how do you get glasses from a table to a place where you can pour safely, or how do you pour safely with glasses on a table? So they're just simple kinds of things it wouldn't take a second thought if we were in normal conditions. But those are the kinds of things that we're running through, practicing, talking to our team, and we're excited to have 30 people maximum on our outdoor patio at any given time. Reservations. I'm sorry?
Well, excuse me for interrupting you, but will you have the food restriction where you're only able to open if you have food?
So, the food restriction doesn't make any sense to me, first and foremost. More touches mean more potential, vectors for communicating stuff. That being said, I think that if you have food trucks, if you have prepared picnic kind of stuff, that would count as offering food. So we don't have to have a restaurant, I don't believe. We're still working through some of these protocols. It took a long time to get any kind of information at all. Wine Institute and through the various county and city regulations. So it's a work in progress still. We have an idea about how we want to situate folks on the patio, timing of reservations. One interesting thing, we were moving toward a reservation only kind of style anyway. We'd opened a very small, intimate tasting salon for the Lineage Wine Company brand, and there were 8 people maximum. We want to head toward reservation only because it I think is more in keeping with our high touch hospitality desires. We want to make sure that we can communicate properly with a limited number of people at any given time so that we can convey to them, more than just the pH and TA and alcohol of the wines. We want to convey that sense of family and hospitality. So from that standpoint, this actually maybe helps hasten that goal of being reservation only. In Livermore, generally speaking, we're all very excited about having folks at our wineries. Everything will be outside, I assume, for the first part of this reopening. And the weather happens to be coinciding nicely if we can get if we're open in the next 60 to 90.
Absolutely.
And how about you at Wright Station? I know Santa Cruz County is open, but you're in Santa County, right?
Right. So Santa Cruz County opened last weekend, I believe. I was told that no wineries, to my knowledge, no wineries were open last weekend. I have heard that several are planning to be open this weekend. So we'll see how that goes in Santa Cruz. For Santa Clara County, it was sort of a surprise. I was kind of working under the impression that we were going to be one of the later counties to open. But surprisingly, actually, tomorrow, we would be allowed to open with the restrictions of course, social distancing and everything along that, and the food requirement. We do not have a commercial kitchen. We won't be, so we can't prepare our food ourselves. But we could contract with a caterer, food truck, et cetera, to do that. There seems to be a lot of sort of vagueness on what's a meal. Our Wine Growers Association, the Santa Cruz Wine Growers Association, is putting out communications to us to make it seem like we would need to prepackaged sort of picnics and things would not qualify. It has to be sort of prepared food on your site. And something like a cheese board or charcuterie would not qualify, but I've looked at some of the offerings that people in Sonoma County have been doing, and I've seen cheese boards and things like that. So I think, in all honesty, there's no way to police this. So it's sort of the Wild West a little bit in terms of what you want to do. I think most importantly, though, all wineries are very much on board with the most important thing, which is doing this safely. That we're not going to put our employees, as Stephen said, we have several, folks pushing 80 years old as our staff for some of our we call them wine tenders. So, we got to think of those people first. And then our customers too. We don't, obviously can't be transmitting any of this stuff. So we've actually already spaced our patio. It's kind of an interesting experience learning that we could actually have a lot more tables if we wanted to. We even can put in more, even as spaced out as we made them, and they're way more than 6 feet. We're at least 10 feet apart. We could actually still fit a few more, and we have, if in fact we need the space, we can do that. We're not really rushing to reopen though. We're not going to be open this weekend, but we are doing a wine club release. So we're doing a drive-through pickup this weekend for our wine club release. Most of my members are pickup. Our winery is very local. So that should be fun. At the same time, we have arranged for a caterer to come up next Saturday and sort of do a little bit of a trial run with a wine club members only. It's only going to be only known, essentially invite only to wine club members. I've not set up for I'm looking at running through Talk for reservations going forward, because it looks like that's going to be a requirement. And as Stephen also said, we've been doing reservations and kind of wanting to sort of move in this direction a little bit anyway. So this is it's going to hasten that, and I think that is one of the things that's going to come out better in the end. But I'm not ready. I don't have my Talk account up yet. So I created this all through Eventbrite. And I was actually surprised. Eventbrite looks like they've gotten pretty flexible and sort of setting this up as sort of a restaurant. However, the first 10 people that signed up, because I had said, you book a table and then you must purchase these sandwiches, grilled cheese sandwiches. We have 3 kind of gourmet grilled cheese sandwiches planned. And you must purchase a sandwich for each person in your party, maximum of 6 people. And we're planning on doing 2 seatings. We have 17 tables. So up to 6 people, I would imagine it's going to be more, or foursomes, which is fine. That will just be more spread out. And I don't know whether we'll book it all. But I think so far out of the first 10 reservations I got, only 2 or 3 did it correctly. So obviously, right, I thought it was clear, but I created it. So I think it makes me feel better about spending $200 a month to get my Talk up and going, because theirs is pretty elegant and works pretty well because I've used it for restaurant reservations before. And I think going through it and walking through it with the demos and things, it should be good. So we'll see how this goes. We are thinking longer term, it's going to operate more like a restaurant, right? So it's going to be reservations. We're probably not going to do tastings. We'll probably offer a flight by the glass, by the bottle. And if the food and hopefully the food requirement will go away. People seemed pretty confident. Some of our wine growers association seemed pretty confident that that would get eliminated soon, but I don't know. So our intention is sort of to bring a flight to the customer. Like I did woodworking, so that's a new thing for me. I took some barrel staves and made little sort of serving trays so we could carry 4 glasses out and set them down. I am curious also to hear how, Maggie, how you are serving people. Like, do you need to be? Are you approaching tables? Are you setting glasses down 6 feet away from people and then they get up and grab them? Because that's sort of the things that we don't know. We don't really know what's a requirement. We want to be safe, but we want to get deliver the wine to you with as few sort of touch points as possible.
Maggie, go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, so we've been following closely the Wine Institute guidelines, and then working with the vintners, and just the most important thing I think is, like, for Sonoma County specifically, getting everybody on the same page so that if you were to go wine tasting to a couple spots, you would expect the same protocols. We have the glasses set out, so trying to minimize that interaction between our employees and the consumer as much as possible, and so our employees wear their mask and have gloves on. When the consumers come and sit, they can take their mask off, obviously to taste and enjoy the food. I think one of the main differences that you're seeing is you can't refill a glass. So if somebody wants more of something, you actually have to bring them a new glass and then pour it. So I think my biggest recommendation is to familiarize yourself with the guidelines, and then probably talk with some of your partner wineries in the area and just talk through, like, best procedures and share best practices, because I think we're all adjusting.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm wondering, for your wineries, with the limited capacity to have guests on property, is it going to be like the restaurant industry where they're limited to either 25 or 50%, and they feel that at that limited capacity, they're not going to make a profit? Is that a concern you all have with the restrictions on what you'll be able to do when you reopen?
Well, I think that profitability is a unicorn at this point in time. I think we're for businesses of my size, it's a cash flow situation. Let's just make sure we're in business next month and the month following, and can build back our business. We don't do a lot of wholesale sales, although we do a significant amount of wine for the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company nationwide, and they've been completely shut down, and nobody knows when the luxury hotel business is going to back online. So that's a big chunk of business, and I'm counting as 0 for this calendar year, which is a challenge. From our direct-to-consumer business has been very strong. Our club members are the absolute backbone of who we are as a wine brand and as a hospitality company, and they are our greatest supporters. So their continued enthusiasm for what we're doing has been incredibly heartening to us at the Lineage Collection, and we make sure that we communicate that all the time, because it's true. It's an intimate and fun way of doing business. It's challenging, obviously. Hospitality business is difficult, but we're in the mode now. I think that specifically to answer your question, Mary, we were looking to kind of downsize the number of people we would be talking with at any given time anyway. And so we're fashioning our wine experiences and expanding our wine experiences. We're doing we're sending out tasting kits for blending to 50 of our wine club members as we speak. So we'll be doing those kinds of experiences on an ongoing basis. And the 30 or so people who might be on our patio as a max capacity for the time being, we'll have 4 or 5 different seatings over the course of 5 hours. But I've always believed it's the quality of the business and not necessarily the quantity of the people that you're having on your patio that makes the difference in who you are as a brand, again, from a mission standpoint, and what you are from a financial standpoint as well. So I'm less concerned about that than I am just about the continued uncertainty and the lack of the unemployment numbers And luxury wine is one of the first things to go out the window when the economy gets bad. So that's what really scares me in thinking about what might be down the road 60 to 90 days. We've gotten a great hit now. People wanted to help out our industry. People love good wine, and they wanted to make sure they could they could have the wine they wanted at any given moment in time. But cellars get full, and even though we're trying mightily to drink every last drop of wine,
I know.
Time where your liver just says, "Let's slow down."
Yeah.
So we're curious, cautiously optimistic.
Sure.
I would just say one thing right now which is kind of makes it imperative that we get open with respect to profitability very soon, is that now is the time we can use outdoor seating. That's where the majority of our customers are anyway, even in the past. And so, like I said, we can be at almost our capacity really outside. Come winter though, it's going to be a major challenge. If we are not allowed to have, I don't know. I think it becomes not profitable, I would just say, in the wintertime, because we just don't have the indoor space, and whether it would even be allowed, I don't know, since we may be.
That is, and during the winter you have Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, which those are the rainy months. Have you all?
We've got to start thinking about that.
Well, we are almost out of time, but I wanted to see if any of you had any parting words for your customers, or maybe the state health department. Yeah, I like your point. Let us open this summer while the weather is good, because you can be outdoors, which certainly feels less threatening in terms of virus spreading, right? But if there's anything you guys wanted to share with your customers or with the public now, go for it, and then we'll wrap up after that.
Yeah, well, I would just love to communicate the idea that this is the hospitality business, wine business, food business are resilient industries. We've gone through a lot of problems and challenges over the course of time. I think that from my perspective, the restaurant is my church, and it's a center of culture for many millions of people around the world. The fact that we're not able to connect yet with restaurant goers and wine tasting room goers the way we normally do is emotionally challenging for us, because that's what we love to do. I would just tell wine lovers and wine consumers that we're waiting, and we can't wait to have you come back to the wine tasting rooms when you feel comfortable. We're here to make sure that your experience is as intimate and great as we can make it, and as safe as we can make it. Wine is about sharing. Wine is about connections, and there's a lot of broken connections and a lot of lack of sharing at this moment in time. So we're really excited about being able to reform those connections, which are fundamental to what we do.
Sure. That's great. Maggie, what about you?
I'm speaking from the stance that we are open, so come and visit. And I guess from a higher level, you can't talk about California's economy without really looking at wine. So support California wineries, support people working in your communities. And I think we're all just ready to get back to what is great about wine and food. And I'm right there with you. It's why we all work in the wine industry, and excited to inch back safely into what we all enjoy.
Great. Thank you. And Dan?
No, I'm just thank you to all of the customers that have been supporting us, I would say. I mean, it's gratifying and just, seeing the people still enjoying the wine, and they can't wait to come back. So we're trying. I think we will figure out a way to do it safely for sure. And it's, wine's a pretty safe product. It's been in the bottle. No one's really touched it. It's true.
As alcohol.
Exactly.
A lot of things.
Yes, good point.
60%, but 14%, I'm sure, it stuns the virus at least. So, but we just can't wait to kind of get back and going. And we're starting, and we'll see how it goes. I'm sure things will be a little bit different, but I really believe we'll be able to create, a great experience for people probably maybe, it might be better. I mean, really, that's the one thing coming out of this is that it is pushing us to think things a little bit differently. And when you get into a rut of doing what we used to always do, this is now gives us to come up with some better practices than maybe what we had. So
yes, necessity, the mother of invention, lots of creativity.
Mm-hmm. I know. I like that. And again, the silver lining of, being in contact with more of your club members in a more intimate way, for all of us being able to connect with you on your social media channels and participate in tastings or cooking demos or whatever. I mean, we haven't had that before. And people, I get asked about this, why do people love to go to wineries? Because they want to connect. They want that in-person personal touch. And we've been able to experience so much with winemakers and see behind the scenes this way that maybe a TV show like Mary and I would show people, but now people can be at home and see behind the scenes and meet all of you. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, those connections, they are remote, but they're real. And I think people are really enjoying that. So hopefully that will stay with us after this. But I want to say a special thanks to all of you, Stephen Mirazu from Stephen Kent Winery and the Lineage Collection, Maggie Curry from Kendall Jackson Winery and the whole KJ family, Jackson Family Wines, Dan Lockteff from Wright Station Winery. Thank you very much for your honesty, for your insight. We wish you good health and stay healthy, stay positive.
Right. And we look forward to visiting in real life, in person sooner rather than later. And we also want to thank our listeners for tuning in to this edition of Sip Sip Hooray. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe on our website at sipsiphooraypodcast.com so you can get notified when new episodes drop. And follow us and tag us on social media at Sip Sip Hooray Podcast on the gram and on Facebook.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us, you guys. Thanks again. Sip, sip, hooray, and cheers to all of you.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks.
We begin today's meditation with a few sipping exercises to remind us a little treat can go a long way. So pick up your McCafe iced coffees, close your eyes, and deep sip in. And deep satisfaction out.
Take a treat retreat at McDonald's. Right now, get a McCafe iced coffee in any size and any flavor for just 99 cents until 11 a.m. Price of participation may vary.